Hi everybody. I wanted to talk to you a little bit. Today is the 10-year anniversary of me losing my mom, and it was the first real death that I experienced of someone that I loved, and I was extremely blessed that I had gone that many years before I had to experience it. It was 2016, February 3rd, that she passed away from ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease. And she had had it for a few years. Um, it was during that time when the Ice Bucket Challenge was big, and she had it during that time. But it was extremely devastating. And I had been a counselor at a funeral home in my life a few years earlier, so I had some experience in helping people deal with loss, and I think that really helped me a lot for when I had to deal with it. Having that experience, I think it would have been harder without it, but it was so hard. And she was definitely a mother. She was kind of like my best friend, but she was more mother than best friend. But it was a good relationship. And, you know, like the rest of the things in my life that I always expect to be perfect and like Cinderella and never turns out that way, it was the same. I figured she'd be around longer. And I mean, she was in her 80s, so I had a good long time with her. I know a lot of people aren't that lucky to get that many years with their loved ones, so I was very blessed that way. But I wanted more, you know? And it's been 10 years, and I've gone through stages of dealing with it, but I don't think I went through the stages you read about. I mean, I guess at some point there might have been some anger. The anger I felt was at the doctors, because, I mean, this is a whole nother topic, but she had what they called high cholesterol, and they put her on Lipitor, and she was like immediately sickly from it. And I mean, she was probably on it for 8 or 10 years, so she didn't die immediately from Lipitor. But I really believe now that when they say you have high cholesterol, they don't know what they're talking about sometimes. Sometimes I think you need cholesterol. I think they're finding that out now. And in about 2017, one of my annual visits, my cholesterol was 202, and they say it should be under 200. And the doctor wanted me to go on statins. It was 202. The doctor didn't say anything like, let's change your diet or try this or try that. Just, you're going to go on statins. Well, I had had a year's worth of, grief after my mom passing. And besides which, I mean, I've never really trusted doctors that well. But I said no. And so I started researching it for myself. And then, just by the blessings of God, I always schedule my doctor appointments each year. I've always been very healthy, but I always had the preventative stuff. And I got my eyes checked. Well, my eye doctor, he's a conversationalist. We were just talking, and I brought up the story I just told you about my 202 and them wanting me to go on statins. And he told me that his at one point was over 300. I think it was over 350. And that he decided he was gonna, improve his health and eat better and not go on statins. And so he took red yeast rice, and he suggested I do that. And I'm not saying you should. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying he said that to me. And he said, if you do take red yeast rice, be sure you take CoQ10, because red yeast rice will reduce your CoQ10 naturally, and you need to replenish it. So I don't remember making a lot of changes in my diet, because I had already kind of cut it way back to healthy stuff, trying to lose weight, because when I hit like 52, I didn't change anything and I started gaining weight for no reason. And so then I would cut back and only eat healthy food and cut back on snacks and stuff. Still didn't lose weight, kept gaining weight. I ended up gaining like 50 pounds. It's a lot. I mean, it was over 10 years, but at 52, from 52 to 55, I gained about 20 pounds and was really mad about it because I was really trying to not gain. I was trying to lose. And I wasn't doing anything stupid like not eating or anything like that, which I did in my younger days. When I was younger, I could always lose weight super easy by just cutting back and eating healthy and stuff. Well, that was gone once I hit 52. That easy ability was gone. And anyway, so I started taking red yeast rice and CoQ10. And then at my next wellness visit, which would have been 6 months later, because I like to get my blood work done every 6 months to just prove that I'm healthy. I'm weird that way. And at that time I have really good insurance that would pay for it. So my numbers went down to like 156. And I had changed doctors too because I didn't like that doctor that wanted to put me on statins immediately. Excuse me. So I got a different doctor, and she was more natural, conscious, and she understood, that I didn't want to do statins and that I wanted to do it through healthy means. So my numbers went down, and she was happy, I was happy. So it's been 10 years, almost 9 years, that I've been taking red yeast rice and CoQ10, and my cholesterol stays low. Now, I'm 50 pounds overweight now, but I have perfect blood work. So, I really believe in natural supplements and healthy eating and everything. Now, as far as diet advice, I don't have anything for you. I mean, I know what used to work, but, you hit a certain age, and everybody's probably different, but, you get up there, and it's not easy anymore. So, I'm I'll be 64 in May. So I decided to just love myself the way I am. And if I lose weight, I lose weight. And I mean, I try to not gain anymore, but I'm just, I guess you could say, giving up on the diet part of it. But, we eat 2 meals a day, and that's just by choice. I don't eat breakfast. And so we have our breakfast. We eat breakfast food at around noon. And then we have our supper, which is usually nothing big and heavy, and yeah, I like my snacks, but I try not to have a lot of snacks. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't have them, and I do love bread and I do love cheese, but, I stopped worrying about it. So that would be my suggestion, if you get to a point where no matter what you do, you can't lose, just love yourself and accept yourself and have a happy life. But anyway, I'm glad I decided to do this video because talking to you has kind of gotten me out of a funk that I was feeling with the 10-year anniversary of my mom's death. But originally that's what I wanted to talk about. It's hard. I mean, again, the stages that they say you go through, denial, anger, depression, I don't remember having any denial because she saw it coming, and she was in her 80s and everything. And again, the anger was more at the doctors than anything. And then they say bargaining and depression. There was depression, but I don't know about the bargaining part. I think it just depends on what scenario you're in. And the scenario I was in, acceptance is usually the last step, and I feel like the acceptance was there fairly early, but I don't know. I just don't think I went through the normal stages in the normal way. But she passed in 2016 and left my dad. And my dad, who was 5 years older than her, he was a very strong, mentally strong person, but after she died, he got dementia fairly quickly. I think he already had it, but was fighting it off, taking care of her. And then it just took over. And I had, okay, so in 2015, I was living in Louisiana, and that's also the same, that fall was the same time my oldest daughter estranged from me, and I have a whole nother video on that. But I decided, because I had moved back down there to be with my daughter and all that, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back to Indiana, because that's where my mom and dad live, that's where I'm from, and I'm going to go back and help take care of my mom and spend time with them. And so this was January of 2016. I quit my job, and we were renting a place down there, so we, gave that up and went to Indiana. And I took it's a little town in northern Indiana, and there weren't a lot of jobs available. And I had management jobs at that point in my life, good jobs. And one of the only jobs available was activity director at a nursing home. And I had done that as a side thing when I lived in Montana, like just a little extra part-time job. I helped them at a nursing home doing activities, and I loved it. But I thought, yeah, I'll do this, and I could probably help my mom, in some way while doing that. And so January 21st, we moved up there, and she passed on February 3rd. So, I mean, I barely had 2 weeks with her. And I really, really, really regret not going back sooner. And regret's a stupid thing probably. But I do regret that when we were moving back down from Montana and I went down to be with my daughter, I wish I had stayed in Indiana with my parents, or moved to Indiana with my parents, and had an extra year and a half, almost 2 years, with my mom, and I feel like I could have done so much more for her. But that didn't happen, so, regret's not very helpful in any way. But of the regrets I have, that's one of the big ones. So I'm up there, and I'm working in a nursing home, and that did help in helping take care of my dad. I mean, our social worker where I worked, she was a good friend of mine, and she's in a couple of my work videos. She does the hula hoop. But anyway, she was a social worker at our nursing home, and she gave me all kinds of tips and guidance and connections that helped with my dad. And he lived another 2 years, and his dementia was bad. And he was a very domineering, judgmental type person anyway. But he that came out worse, and he was better during the day. He got sundowners, which is people with dementia or Alzheimer's in the afternoon. Sometimes they get wacky. And he was living in his own house. He lived in his own house till he passed. But at that point, he was 94, and he was going blind, and he still wanted to drive. And that was awful. And I have 3 older brothers, thank goodness. And one of my older brothers and his wife did a lot of the caregiving. And amongst all of us, eventually we finally got his car keys from him. And one day, the reason was one day he had taken off in walking, and cops, I don't remember, he had fallen, but not got hurt really, but had fallen in the snow in the wintertime in Indiana, and the cops stopped, and he was confused, and so all that happened. And because of that, we were able to get him to finally agree that he shouldn't be driving and let us take more care of him, And so he passed in 2018, and right, months before he passed, I would try to give my brother and his wife a little break and have my dad stay at my house. And I had like a tri-level at that time, and the basement, which wasn't really a basement, it was like half underground and half above ground, it had windows and everything. But it was almost like its own little place. It had a bedroom and a bathroom, and their living room was down there. And so I had it set up. That was like his bedroom and his bathroom. But For one thing, he thought I was my mom a lot, and I do resemble her, and so he'd call me Ruby a lot. That was her name, and that was weird. It wasn't great, but he was old-timey. Like, him and my mom's relationship was a good relationship, but she was kind of subservient, and I've never been subservient a day in my life. So, there was that. And when he knew it was me, it was even worse, because he and I never really got along that well. I think I'm too much like him. But anyway, so he thought he would say that I had him in a shed. But it's because he was going blind, and at nighttime he thought he was in a shed, and so there was a lot of arguments with that. But also, he would try to go outside, and he thought the TV was a window. He thought the windows were a door. I mean, it was a lot. If you're going through it with somebody with dementia, God bless you, because it is so hard. There is help out there for you. And, we really didn't want him to go into a nursing home, even though I worked at a nursing home. He was such that as long as one of us could be with him, physically, he was so healthy. That's the ironic part of life. My mom was mentally so sharp, and physically, excuse me, so weak. And he was the opposite. He was physically so strong for his age, and so weak-minded with the dementia. But anyway, he passed in 2018, and excuse me, I think in that 2 years from when my mom died to when my dad died, I was, coasting on fumes mentally, like just getting through life. And when he'd passed, it's like, I don't want to say relief, that sounds awful, but it's like, okay, that part's taken care of, and now move on with life. And at that point, I had super bad anxiety. I had a couple panic attacks, and I had to take medicine for a little while to help. And the medicine, I don't like doctors and don't like medicine, and the medicine does help, but you will get attached to it. And so then I titrated, they say, off of it, because I didn't want to take it. And that was worse than before I took it, the side effects from not taking it. So I got through that, and then, life kind of moved on. And also during that time, my estranged daughter, and I heard this through family, had gotten pregnant again and made it to almost term, and then lost the baby. And when I was told that, it was on the phone, and I dropped to my knees. I don't know why that took such a wind out of me, but I dropped to my knees and started bawling. And at that point, I hadn't seen my daughter in a year or two, and so I didn't know anything that was going on really. And she has her own issues, and that, losing a child like that, I worried for her. It was just awful. I have so many stories I could tell. But anyway, I appreciate you letting me talk, be my therapy, and know that if you're going through, especially losing a parent, because I know at our age, if we haven't already lost our parents, we're getting close to losing our parents. And it can be so devastating and so physically unhealthy for you and mentally unhealthy for you. But I'm 10 years in now after my mom, and 8 years after my dad, and life goes on, and it eases up, and you can look at it more objectively. You still miss them. I wish my mom were alive. Our relationship was such that when something happened, I'd call her and tell her, and we talked for a long time. And in the last 10 years, so many things happen, and my first thought for a long time was just automatic, like, oh, I need to call my mom, and she's not there, you know. So, oh, I'm gonna start working myself up into a tizzy. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope in my videos at some point I can help somebody with something. I have a lot of experiences, and I know everybody in life goes through the same stuff basically, and I always get through it, and I do. God is the reason, so I definitely want to stress that. You know, I have God in my heart, and he has helped me in so many ways, so many times. I have so many stories, but I need to go. I'm outside. It's Texas, and it's about 60 degrees, and it's what, February 3rd. So I'm sitting outside. I got my earmuffs on, but and my jacket, but it's not bad. And it got a almost full moon, it looks like. So I hope you're all doing well, and just know that no matter what you're going through, you can get through it. I get through it with God, so I recommend that. And also the Reggie's rice and the CoQ10. I really believe in that. I'm not saying you should do it because I'm not allowed to say that, but I do it and it works for me. So God bless you. Have a wonderful evening.